morning, Jai Hind, Namaskar. I welcome you all to this session and sorry for the delay. So, last Friday we have discussed some editorial. I have also given you certain questions which you have to practice. Now, in today's session, the editorials which we are going to discuss, let us first have a look at this. The first topic which we are going to talk about is judicial holidays. The first topic which we are going to talk about is judicial holiday. We are going to discuss this part. Second topic is related to a reform which is going on in some of the engineering institutes. So we are going to discuss about that part also. The third thing which we are going to discuss about is again about the international relations. We will talk about the international relations in that part. Okay. So these are the topics which we are going to discuss. Let us first start with this one. Okay. Let us first start with this one portion. Here the topic is this, that 5 crore Indians wait when the courts take a break. Okay. That when we are talking about the Indian judiciary, when it is going on a holiday, there is 5 crore people who are waiting for it. Okay. So let me give you a context of it first and then we will talk about this. Let us first discuss the context. Okay. What is the context here? You will see that, you will see this one thing, that almost for like 40 days, okay, there is around 40 days of leave or vacation, 40 days vacation in Supreme Court. And you will find that this is going to resume from today, the 13th of July. On 13th of July, it is going to start, means today itself, the court will resume its session. Now, when the court is on vacation, it doesn't mean that the court is completely on leave. There are certain benches which are there. Okay. Some of the benches are, some benches of Supreme Court are working. Some benches of Supreme Court are working even during this vacation period. So it's not that there is a complete shut off. You will find that the emergency cases which are there, they are being discussed, they are being seen by the emergency batches which are there. There is this discussion in these emergency batches of some prominent matters. Okay. So that is one thing which you see here, that 40 days, this is around the vacation. Now at the same time, there is also there is a winter vacation. There is also a winter vacation. There is also winter vacation. Overall, on average, if we talk about the working days, on average, if we are talking about working days, it is still 190 days approximately. There is 190 days of working in case of Supreme Court. 190 days of working in case of Supreme Court. That is what we see here in the case of our judiciary. Similarly, we see that High Court also have vacations. The High Court which is there, it is also having the vacations. High Court is also having the vacation. So there also we will see that almost a similar scale vacation is also there. Now, meanwhile, what we also see that the number of pending cases, we see that there is a number of pending cases, and that is approximately 5.5 crore cases. Approximately 5.5 crore cases are pending there, out of which you will find that in Supreme Court around 92,000 cases are pending. In case of High Court, there is around 63 lakh cases which are pending. We see that there is 5.5 crore pending cases in Indian judiciary, out of which 92,000 cases are pending in Supreme Court and 63 lakh cases are there which are pending in high courts of the country. Now, keeping this one thing in mind, again we have the another dimension. What we see that near about 70% of prisoners, near about 70% of prisoners are under trial. Near about 70% of prisoners in India are under trial. Okay. So it means they are waiting for the justice. They are waiting for their verdict. They are waiting for the justice. Some of them may be innocent. Some of them may be the criminal, or some of them may have actually committed crime. Okay. So what we see that there is 70% of prisoners who are under trial. So now the thing is that why the judiciary is taking the leave? Why the vacation? Why the vacation? So meanwhile, you have to also understand this one thing, that around 30% seats in High Court are vacant. That meanwhile, at the same time, we see that there are 30% seats which are also vacant. So there are multiple dimensions which you have to see here. It's not unidimensional, it's not one part. We have around 40 days of leave for Supreme Court and similar leave for High Courts. We see that there is winter leave also. On an average, working days is less than 200 in 365 days. Then what we see that at the same time, there is around 5.5 crore cases which are pending in India, out of which 92,000 cases are pending in Supreme Court, and near about 63 lakh cases that is pending in High Courts of India. Now, if we keep that in mind, we have to also see this one part, that there is 70% of the prisoners who are under trial and 30% seats in the High Courts are vacant. So this is one dimension, this is one of the facts which we have to understand. Now, at the same time, why are the judges going on vacation? Why are they taking the leave? Many a times it has been said that this is one of the part when we are seeing writing the judgments. This is something which is used for writing the judgments, study of laws, international references, okay, provides them time to think over, and somewhat is also part of relaxation. I think if you are reading on a continuous basis, if you are having a continuous classes on daily basis, if you are working 7 to 8 hours, then after a certain period of time, you also think that you need a break. Okay. So what we see that in the similar manner, the judges who are there, of course, they have the duty of providing the justice to the people. But then again, they are also human beings. They also need to have certain relaxation, certain time for themselves. Okay. So this is one of the part which we see here. Now the thing is that what suggestions have been provided. That when we are looking at this, what suggestion have been provided in this case? That what type of suggestion has been provided in this case? What should be done? Actually, see, this is something which we are doing for mains. In the morning, in the editorial session, we are talking about the mains related topic. Okay, and in the evening, we are having the current affair classes where we are discussing most of the topics with respect to prelims. Okay. So now the thing is, when we are talking about this one topic, that what should be the suggestion, what should be the approach, like what should be done in this case. So the first suggestion which has come up is we should have alternative form of justice. we should be looking at alternative form of justice, like we can have lok adalats. Okay. We can have lok adalats. Okay. So lok adalats can be one of the way to reduce the pressure. This is going to reduce the pressure on judiciary. We can also have a mediation. We can also have the mediation for the cases which are of the nature of this commercial nature. Okay. So settlement or mediation in commercial nature of cases. In commercial nature of cases. So that is one thing which we require. Then when we are talking about the leave, when we are talking about the vacations, okay, what has been suggested that instead of having a complete vacation, we should be looking for, I know I have already done it, but then we are having the editorial session, and in editorial you will find that we are discussing according to the newspaper editorials. So I know that we have already discussed this topic. Okay. So here what we see, that we have this one limitation, that we can discuss those topics which are there in editorial. So in today's editorial, this is the topic which was there. Okay. Now in 2023, there was this parliamentary committee. In 2023, the parliamentary committee, it has said that we should not let the we should not have a group vacation. Okay, instead of having that group vacation, it should be for individual judges at different point of time. Okay, so what we see, that a group vacation can be avoided, and we can optimize or rationalize the vacation for different bench or judges. Like we can be providing, like suppose that we are having 10 benches or we are having 30 judges. So instead of sending all of them at a vacation once, we can be having like 10 people are enjoying from May onwards, 10 from June, 10 from July. So there will not be too much pressure. And the judiciary will keep on working. So that is one part which we can have. Then of course what we need to do, that of course we have to increase the number of judges, especially in high courts. So most of the time our focus is generally about Supreme Court. That we have to look at Supreme Court, the number of judges in Supreme Court, that has already been increased recently. But we have to focus on High Court. This is where most of the vacancies are also there, and plus most of the cases are also pending there. 63 lakh cases are pending in High Court. 30% vacancy is there in high courts. So we need to focus more on high courts rather than just thinking about or just talking about Supreme Court. Supreme Court is rarely having more than 2 or 3 vacancies. Supreme Court is already having the judges. The number of cases are still below 1 lakh. And what we see, that in the case of high courts, it is 63 lakh. So we need to focus more on the high courts also. That is one thing which has been suggested. Okay. Then We can also using retired judges to especially dispose of legacy pending cases or legacy cases. There are certain cases which are pending for 10 years, 15 years and even more than that. So we can have the pool of the retired judges at High Court level, at Supreme Court level also. We can be forming separate panels, we can be forming separate group of judges which can be working on this dimension. They can identify that there are certain cases which has been pending for 10 years, 15 years. Okay. So this is something which we need to look at, that we can have a dedicated panel of judges which can be working for this. I hope that is clear. Any doubt in this? So this is the first part we have already discussed, and that is also the beauty of editorial, that even if you have gone through one topic, you are again going to have the repetition. अब repetition से क्या होगा? You will revise that topic. And this is something which I always tell. Current affairs, if you look at 2026 paper also, if you look at the 2026 paper also, you will find this one thing. It's not that the topics were asked out of blue or they were completely strange topics. Most of the topics which has been asked in prelims exam or mains exam, they are common topics. They are common topics. Okay. So that is one thing which you should be aware about. Sir, could you please let us know when will you be taking classes in the batch? Which batch? कौन से batch में? Now, coming to the next part, we are having the second part, judging graduates, not the entrance score. Okay. So, what is this article all about? What is this article all about? Let me give you a background. Okay. You know that we are having JEE examination or NEET examination or different other examinations which are being conducted, and there are students who are scoring very good in these entrance scores, in these entrance exams. So in entrance there is a ranking. Now this is at intermediate level. When someone is preparing for an entrance exam, when someone is preparing, that delayed justice violate? Yes, of course it is a violation, especially for the prisoners which you see. The prisoners who are there, if their justice is being delayed, it is of course a challenge to their Article 21. Okay. So what we see that at the intermediate level, at class 12th level, they are appearing for this JEE NEET examination. Now, if I ask from you, I think some of you may have also prepared for JEE exam, or maybe some of you may have prepared for NEET examination. So I think some of you may have prepared for it. So tell me about this one thing. When you were preparing for this JEE examination or NEET examination, at that point of time, did you acquire some skills other than solving questions? Some of you may have gone for some technical degrees also. Some of you may be engineering graduates, some of you may be having medical field also. So tell me, when you are going through this class 12th examination, when you are going for the entrance examination, are you learning some new skills? Do you know, like someone is going for civil engineering, so do you know how to construct the bridge in class 12th? Or what should be kept in mind while constructing the bridge in class 12th? So this is something, here you will find that it is not providing any skill. It is not providing any skill related to work. It is not providing any skill related to work. Okay. It is not providing you any skill related to work. There is skills which you are getting. You are getting the question solving skills. You are of course having question solving skills. Question solving skill. You may be having the arithmetic skills. You are gaining the arithmetic skills. You are getting the arithmetic skills, and for many of them it is also about memorizing. कई लोग तो रट्टा मार जाते हैं. It is also about the memorizing part, that many of the people are simply memorizing the facts. Okay. So at this level, at the intermediate level, at class 12th level, when you are preparing for the examination, when you are going for JEE or NEET, so it's not providing you any such a skill for the job. It is not providing you any such a skill for the job. Rather than that, it is just a basic thing. It is just a rote learning also, you can say. Now, if we are like what we used to see, that earlier during placement, during this placement, what we used to see that the entrance rank, it was also being considered. It was also being considered that during the placement, the entrance rank was also being considered. If we talk about the job skill of a person, job skills, it depends on the graduation. Depends on the graduation. That the way the person has done in their graduation, if someone is passing from IIT, if someone is going, okay. So what we see that job skills, it depends on the graduation. It is depending on the graduation. It is not depending on, it is depending on their project and research. It depends on their project and research. Okay. That how much projects they have executed. Okay. It depends also on the internship. It depends on the internship, that how they have done internship during the colleges. If you are an engineering graduate, you may have seen that during the first, second year, third year also, you have to go for internship. I think from second year onwards, you have to go for internship. So whether you have done the internship properly or not, it depends on the technical and communicational skill. Technical and communication skills. So all these things are being taught during the graduation. It depends on how much teamwork, creativity they are having. Teamwork, creativity. So these are the elements of the job skills. But what we used to see that earlier during the placement, this was one of the part that entrance rank was being considered. But now the IIT's placement committee, now what we see, now IIT's placement committee, so they have decided that they will not be using, they will exclude the JEE ranks or GATE scores or percentiles. Okay, so exclude JEE rank, GATE scores, percentile, etc. So they are going to exclude the JEE rank or the GATE score, percentiles or similar credentials. They are not going to do this. Okay. So this is one of the part which has been done by the IITs. Okay. Now at the same time, what we also see that there is another challenge. There is another challenge. And that is the package announcement. Package announcement. That is the package announcement. You may have seen this one thing that many often, if you are reading the newspaper, you will get a news article there that in IITs a student has got a package of 10 crore rupees or 5 crore rupees or 4 crore rupees. So this is one thing which is being announced, that one student has got a package of 2.5 crore or 10 crore or 15 crore. Okay. So this is one of the part which we see here in the case of our IITs, IIMs or others. So there is one person who is getting a package of 2.5 or 10 crore rupees. Okay. What about the other people? How much package they are getting? There are certain people who are getting a package of 10 crore rupees. What about the other people? How much package they are getting? So this package announcement, this is something which is like a misinformation for new aspirants. It is a misinformation for new aspirants, because when they are getting into this IITs, they are just looking at this one part, that they are going to have a package of 10 crore rupees. They are not understanding that 10 crore rupees has been provided to one person. The rest, all other people have got a 10 lakh rupees package or a 6 lakh rupees package or 20 lakh rupees package. Okay. So what should be the step? There should be announcement of median package. Announcement of median package rather than top one. Rather than top one. Okay. That what is the median package? That what is the median package in IITs? That is something which we have to again see. Okay. So this is one thing which was discussed in this article, that what is the reform which is going on in our education system right now. Okay. So on Monday you are generally getting only few editorials, so that's why we have this one. Okay. Now coming to the third article. The third article is about Israel. Okay. How should, there is a question, I am not able to access PDF. See, for PDF, you have to go to this one thing, KGS IAS Telegram channel. KGS IAS Telegram channel. Okay. Don't worry, tomorrow I will show you the QR code also of the channel. Tomorrow I will display the QR code of the channel also later, and then you can access it from there also, or you can simply search for KGS IAS Telegram channel. From there you can get the update. Okay. So that is one of the part. Second thing is, when Adhyan batch will announce, as soon as it is announced, I will inform you. How should universities redefine merit in the age of AI and innovation? In the age of AI, again we have to first change our syllabus. We have to change our syllabus. We have to update our syllabus. We cannot be doing the same thing as we used to do in 2010 or even 2020. First thing is, we need to change our syllabus. Second thing is, when we are talking about the AI, nowadays mostly what we see, that we are training people for using AI rather than developing AI. That is one of the biggest problem in India. The outside countries, like if you are talking about US, if you are talking about Japan, China and others, so they are not training people just for using AI. They are training people for development of AI. So our system should focus on development of AI capacity rather than just training a person for using the AI. Okay. So plus there should be more and more focus during this entire academics. There should be more focus on the innovation part. I hope it's clear. Okay. Now coming to this Israel part. Okay. That we are having Israel here. Okay. So what is this article talking about? When we are talking about Israel, why it was created? Okay. When we see creation of Israel, when we see about the creation of Israel, It was to provide a home to Jewish people. It was to provide a home to the Jewish people. Okay. Why? Why? Okay. Because they were like they were historical oppression and persecution. We see that there was lack of a homeland. There was a lack of a homeland. There was a lack of homeland. Okay. They were persecuted. They were persecuted by the Nazis. They were persecuted by the Hitler's army, and they have no place. They have no place to go. Okay. So we see that as a result of this, it was decided that they would be provided a home, and thus Israel was created. There were peace agreements which were signed. Okay. In the recent times also, we have seen that there have been peace agreements. There have been peace agreements with Arab states. Peace agreement with Arab states such as Abraham Accord, Abraham Accord. So there has been peace agreement with Arab states also, such as the Abraham Accords. So there was a focus. There was a focus on making the relation better. There was a focus on making the relation better. But what we see that in the recent times, what we see that in the recent times, in the last 2 to 3 years, there have been some of the military actions. There have been two types of military actions. One against Palestinian people in Gaza, and unprovoked, you can say that, attack on Iran, Lebanon, and even parts of Syria. There have been attack on these parts. Okay. Israel has also not been returning to the table for discussion. Okay. What we see that not returning, it is not returning back to the table for negotiations. See, this is one difference which you will find in case of Russia and in case of Israel. Russia is also having a war with Ukraine. Okay. There is also a war with Ukraine. But we see that despite having a war with Ukraine, Russia is never like saying that we are not ready to talk. Russia always said that yes, we are ready to talk. But at the same time, if we are looking at Israel, Israel is not even giving a sign that we are ready to talk, we are ready to discuss the matter. Okay. In fact, they have been harming. They have been harming the peace negotiations by continuous attack. They have been harming the peace by having continuous attacks. Okay. So we see that Israel is in a continuous war phase. Israel is not able to come out of it. It is now having a complete, what we say that war mode. It is not able to return back to table. It is not able to negotiate with any country. It is not ready to talk of even about peace. So that is one of the challenge which we see in case of Israel. What has been the impact? What has been the impact? The impact is this, that the chances of deal between Arab nation, Arab and Israel, this is something which is vanishing. There is a domestic demand in the Arab countries. There is a demand from the citizens in the Arab countries that we should not be having ties with Israel. The people are not supportive of any such ties with that of Israel. And when people are not supportive, the governments will not be doing it. Even if there is a dictatorship, still they have to be somewhat responsible towards the people. They have to be somewhat accountable towards the people. So that is one thing. Then we see that there is a growing difference between, there is also a growing difference, there is a growing difference between US and Israel. There was a time of unconditional support. Unconditional support is no more available. There was a time when Israel was getting this unconditional support, when Israel was getting this unconditional support from Iran, sorry, US, from US. But now that unconditional support thing is not there in the case of US also. Okay. At the same time, we are also seeing that growing criticism from European nations. There is a growing criticism from the European nations. What we see, like example, France recognized, when this war was going on, France recognized Palestine. You can understand from there that from around 70 years, France has not been recognizing Palestine, and now they are ready to recognize Palestine also. So we see that Israel is losing that support in case of the case of Europe also. So Europe is also not very much supportive of Israel in the present times. Okay. So this is something which is again the two-state solution. The two-state solution. This is something which is becoming unviable. That the coexistence of Israel, okay, the coexistence of Israel along with Palestine is something which is becoming very much complicated. In fact, Israel is the one which is focused. Israel is getting isolated in the world. Okay, you will find this one thing, that Israel, it is getting isolated. It is getting isolated in world. Israel is getting isolated in the world, and there is a thinking there. There is a thinking in case of Israel that if we are militarily superior, then that isolation will not be there. That countries will always be dependent on Israel for getting some new weapons. They will be getting new weapons from Israel. So that's why they think that there is not going to be any problem. But in fact, it is not so. If we look at this, the political dialogues are the solution for it. Military superiority is not going to serve Israel for a long period of time. So if the Israel is not coming back to the table now, if it is not ready to negotiate, it may become difficult for them only in future. So Israel has been created. Okay. Israel has been created. But see, the thing is, generally it is said that those things which are created, they have an expiry date. Those things which have been created, they are having an expiry date. So if we look at Israel, it has also been created. It was not existing there. It has been created. And the way it is going, it may become very much challenging for the people of Israel. for the citizens there, it may become very much challenging. Okay. So this is one of the part. On the basis of it, I am giving you 3 questions. While the judges can of course have vacation, the judicial system should not take a break. Comment. Okay. So I think now you can answer this one question. While the judges can of course have vacation, the judicial system should not take a break. Okay. That is one part which you have to write. Israel has been losing its legitimacy in the recent times. Critically comment. That is 150 words. Okay. So when the word is critically comment, you have to give arguments on both sides. Here you have to give arguments on both sides. Okay. So that is one thing which you have to do in these 2 questions. I think ये दोनों लिख सकते हो आप. You can write both these questions. Okay. Now coming to the question of the last day. Last day जो हम लोगों ने question देखा था उस पे आते हैं. The Indo-Pacific region needs to move beyond US and China for mutual development and security. Comment. So how many of you have written this answer? पहला वाला question का. How many of you have written this answer? See, answer writing is very much essential part. We are doing it on a regular basis. So those of you who have not started, you should be writing answer on daily basis. This is something which is your task. Like today we have discussed the topic, we have discussed about the judiciary part. I have given you a question on the basis of it. So now you are having the content. You are having the content. You are having the idea how to write. So try to write on that part. Okay. So if we are talking about this one question, the Indo-Pacific region needs to move beyond US and China for its mutual development and security. In the introduction, अगर आपको याद होगा, we have been talking about this Indo-Pacific. Okay. We have been talking about this Indo-Pacific in the last week. And there you may have seen that US has started shift of focus from Indo-Pacific to Western Hemisphere. If you have gone through the editorials of the last 1 week, अगर आपने last 1 week में classes की है, you may have seen that we are having this one thing that US has shifted its focus from Indo-Pacific to that of Western Hemisphere. So that is how you can set the introduction. That is how we can set the introduction of this one article. Then after, so what we see that there is a shift of focus from Indo-Pacific to Western Hemisphere. That is one thing which you can mention. Now after this part, what you can say, you can mention this one thing, that why there is a need to move beyond US and China. Okay, need of moving beyond US and China. US and China. Need of moving beyond US and China. Okay. That is one part where you can mention that US, if we talk about US and China, they are having their own self-centric interest. US and China are always trying to dominate. So a threat of domination, a focus, a narrow focus. What we see that when we are talking about US also, there is a narrow focus. When we talk about China also, there is a narrow focus. There is a threat of domination also. There is also internal conflicts or conflict related to each other, mutual conflicts, which becomes a challenge. So you can mention that why we need to move beyond US and China. That is one part. Then you can mention some of the recent steps, and especially here you can mention about some of the recent tours of the prime ministers, like Japanese prime minister came to India, India visited Australia, India visited New Zealand. Okay, so India has gone to New Zealand also, India has gone to Indonesia also, Indian prime minister has gone to Australia also. We have Japanese prime minister here in India. So our like relations with the countries in Indo-Pacific has been growing. Our focus on ASEAN is also there. So you can mention some of the recent steps which has been taken in this regard. That is the second point which you can mention. Okay. Then at the same time, you have to also realize this one thing, that while we need to move beyond US and China, it doesn't mean that we have not to engage with them. Okay. So simultaneous engagement. The third part should be about the simultaneous engagement. The simultaneous engagement. Okay. Simultaneous engagement with US and China. That on one side we need to move beyond it. Okay. Then the fourth part can be the possibility of like-minded alliance. Achha, you can do this one thing. Let me give you one point. First, second, third, and then after write this one thing. Simultaneous engagement, इसको बाद में लिखेंगे. Possibility of like-minded alliance, where we can have an alliance with US, Indonesia, and other countries, which can be about, we can go for trilateral, quadrilateral, or multilateral associations focusing on environment. Okay, here you can make a flow chart that alliance with like-minded nations. And here you can mention for energy, for critical minerals, for AI, for supply chain, etc., for maritime security, maritime. So you can make a flow chart that there is a possibility of an alliance which can focus on these part. And then you can mention about this one part, that we need to simultaneously engage with US and China. At the same time, we need to also engage with US and China. We should not say that, okay, bye-bye now, we will not talk to each other. We should be having the continuous engagement with US and China. And meanwhile, we should look for having some alliance with like-minded countries where there is a lesser chances of conflict. So that is one thing which we want to achieve through this one Indo-Pacific grouping. Okay. So that is one thing which you can mention. Then you can also, in the conclusion part, you can mention about some of the existing mechanism again. Okay, that you can talk about, that India, Australia is having Malabar exercise, India and Japan and other countries are having. So that is one part which you can mention, or you can also mention that when we are talking about the Indo-Pacific, the welfare of Indo-Pacific lies in inclusion and mutual development rather than unilateral decisions or unilateral agendas. So that is one part which you can give in the conclusion. The development of this Indo-Pacific region will be dependent on recognition of mutual interest, co-development, respecting each other's sovereignty rather than unilateral actions and agendas. तो इस तरीके से आप इंडो पैसिफिक का एक फ्यूचर बता सकते हो कि व्हाट विल बी द फ्यूचर ऑफ इंडो पैसिफिक. Okay, so this is one thing which you can write in this answer. So can those of you who have not written answer, Chirag, जैसे you are saying that how to write answer. So I think now you get the idea, Chirag, that if we are having a question like this, what should be your approach? Sir, in the first heading, I have written the limitation of US-China centric tactics. हाँ, that can also be done. No issues in that. आप वहां से भी start कर सकते हो. Okay. This one part की what is the limitations of US and China. देखो यहाँ पे नीड ऑफ मूविंग बियॉन्ड यूएस एंड चाइना जो है ना, दैट इज द सेम थिंग. द सब हेडिंग इज डिफरेंट, the subheading is different, but the content will remain same, that US is having its own agenda, China is having its own agenda, and in the middle of this the Pacific nation, the Indo-Pacific nations are getting the challenges. So I hope that is clear. Okay, so then tomorrow we will meet again, and tomorrow we will try to discuss these two answers. ये दोनों आंसर्स को डिस्कस करेंगे. I have already given you the content of it. Those who have not written the answer, try to see today's discussion about answer writing. Try to write the same answer once again from your side, the one about Israel. If you are having the lack of content, go through the previous lectures. In some of the lectures we have talked about Israel US policy and everything, so go through that and you will get to know about it. Now we are also updating the list of the topic in the thumbnail, so that later if you have to check a particular article you can see it from there. So now we are also updating that thumbnail, that we will have the list of topics there. So if you are having a doubt that which topic was discussed in which class, you can just see the thumbnail and from there you will get the idea. Okay, so thank you everyone, take care. Let's meet you in the next session tomorrow, and then we will discuss the other editorials. So thank you everyone, take care, good night, sorry, have a good day.